China's mainland consumer prices took a hit for the first time in over 2 years. Is China heading toward a deflation crisis? It depends on who you ask. There is Beijing's denial of deflation on one side, and then there are global worries on the other. The world's second largest economy is living an unhealthy life. What are the deep-rooted reasons for this trend? Is there a foreseeable end to the crisis? Keep watching till the end to get the complete picture of China's deflation crisis. Declining prices. Recently, in July 2023, the National Bureau of Statistics in Beijing made a gripping announcement. There is notable economic development in China. Consumer prices are declining. In July 2023, consumer prices on the mainland declined by 0.3%. Is this supposed to ring alarm bells? Well, no. But this price drop sends one clear message. China's economy is going through a deflation. This deflation could have severe implications for China's economic landscape. It is already going through a debt crisis. Deflation, put simply, is a situation where prices consistently decrease over time. This can erode the general value of households' financial assets. China's deflation scenario is the same as what the U.S. and other major economies have faced after the COVID-19 pandemic. The surge in pent-up demand, often fueled by government aid, has been a defining characteristic of this period. Some economists foresaw a similar path for China. It was because China emerged from COVID restrictions a bit later than others. This prediction hasn't materialized, but there's enough evidence for it. Inflation/deflation. Consumer spending growth is suppressed. A constant decline in the housing market has not helped confidence. Chinese citizens are postponing major purchases. They are not interested in buying consumer products or any household equipment. Furthermore, energy costs have fallen. There are two reasons for that. First, there's a global commodity price weakness. Secondly, Beijing's long-standing control over the power industry doesn't play a positive role regarding cost. If you add the continued pricing battle among automakers to the mix, deflationary pressures skyrocket. Notably, producer prices have fallen together for the first time since 2020. Producer prices experienced a decline of 4.4% compared to July 2022. This decline is attributed to weakened demand. Weakened demand means factories and businesses have to implement price reductions, hence the deflationary trend. China is a nation with more than 3/5 of household assets closely tied to real estate. Among the concerning aspects, the most significant is the downward trend in housing prices. It is no secret that housing prices are on a downward trajectory. The BK Research Institute, based in Tianjin, reported a noteworthy price decline for existing homes across 100 Chinese cities. These prices have, on average, fallen by 14% from their peak in August 2021. Simultaneously, rents have witnessed a 5% decrease. Now, it is essential to acknowledge that assessing the prices of new homes is a complex task. Local government intervention has exerted significant pressure on developers to avoid price cuts, and the official data does indicate relatively more minor declines in the prices of new apartments. In response, developers have created various strategies. They are now offering complimentary parking spaces and other discounts. These tactics effectively bring down the overall price of the home. Still, these nuanced adjustments need to be reflected in government-maintained data. However, China's situation is coming as a surprise. Most countries are struggling with inflation. Beijing has adopted a reverse trend here. But it is critical to realize that the fundamental issues leading to China's crisis are deep and rooted. Finding a solution to these issues is a challenging task. Consider this: even though some industries are seeing price declines, others are not. Since lifting pandemic restrictions, spending on services such as travel and dining out has increased. As a result, prices in these specific industries have continued to grow. It presents a complex picture within the larger economic environment. Now, most people think lower prices means it's a good thing, but not necessarily. Is deflation bad? While lower prices might appear practical for consumers initially, the reality is more subtle. Lower prices may seem advantageous, but this doesn't necessarily translate into increased consumer spending. Consumers adopt a mindset of delaying important purchases. This happens when prices decline across a broad range of products and continue over an extended period. They operate under the assumption that prices will continue to drop. Unfortunately, this cautious approach dampens economic activity. Consumers hold back on spending. Businesses are forced to respond by further reducing their prices to attract buyers. This creates a cycle of diminishing economic activity. Companies might need to cut costs, and this translates to lower wages or job losses for workers. In this downward spiral, consumers eventually earn less or even lose their jobs. So while lower prices might seem advantageous at first glance, they can adversely affect the economy in the long term. Does China have COVID to blame? Well, most experts think so. Adam S. Posen, who currently serves as the president of the Peterson Institute for International Economics in Washington, explained China's current economic vulnerabilities to the notably stringent COVID response undertaken by Mr. Xi. He referred to this phenomenon in an article published in Foreign Affairs as economic long COVID. And he's not wrong. Municipal lockdowns, widespread testing, and forceful population relocation to quarantine facilities dealt a lasting blow to consumer confidence. But it would be too simplistic to blame COVID-19 only. China's economic challenges have been gradually mounting over several decades. Since the early 1990s, China's approach to economic growth has leaned heavily on investment and exports. Simultaneously, it has suppressed wage growth and limited the investment choices accessible to Chinese households. What has been the result of this? Households have limited alternatives besides channeling their funds into new properties and factories. In the present, China finds itself confronted with an expected surplus in both new homes and factories. This situation is poised to continue over the long term. Together, China is grappling with a substantial decline in birth rates. Not only that, there is a noticeable surge in youth unemployment. As a result, the demand for new apartments, along with the associated appliances that accompany setting up a new household, has diminished enormously. Affordability issues are the reason behind the diminished demand for a considerable portion of the population. Beijing's response? What do you think Chinese authorities have been doing? Minimizing and denying the concerns of deflation. Fu Linghui, an official from the National Bureau of Statistics, stated that there is no deflation in Chinese society. Yet, the evidence presents a different picture. Exports and domestic demand for goods produced in China have also declined. Eswar Prasad, a prominent economist, remarked that the situation is bleak. He noted in an email to Foreign Policy that the government's strategy of downplaying deflation risks and stalling growth could backfire. This can make the uphill task of restoring the economy even more challenging. China's current encounter with deflation isn't its first bout in recent times. During the global financial crisis in 2009 and weak demand for Chinese goods in 2012, Beijing managed to sidestep a decrease in prices. However, this time around, the journey to recovery from the stringent zero-COVID measures may hinder the nation's capacity to counter deflation effectively. Nevertheless, Chinese authorities remain firm in their decision. Recently, Beijing issued a series of measures for local governments to implement. They aim to inject more funds into the economy. Now, these measures include bold initiatives. One of them is to waive entry fees at tourist attractions. How will this help? Simple. It will attract more tourists and present a positive picture of the country. The other measure includes incentivizing individuals to upgrade their vehicles and enhance the energy efficiency of their homes. But the problem still remains. First, globally, the countries are not wholly supportive of enhancing investments in China, and they haven't been afraid to show it. The United States introduced a new executive order prohibiting private equity firms from investing in sensitive Chinese technologies. Now, this specifically targets direct investment areas. We are talking about semiconductors, quantum computing, and artificial intelligence. Non-compliance with these regulations means more fines and necessary divestment of stakes. In light of this, what do the policymakers suggest? Challenge for China. Economic policymakers are under increasing pressure. Currently, they are urging Beijing to take action. With this, they have also expressed their willingness to intervene, but no measures have been effectively implemented. Prasad commented that the Chinese economy needs to restore confidence among businesses and households to purchase goods urgently. He also mentions that Beijing needs to acknowledge the looming threat of deflation and intervene. The timing of the deflation is also bad. China's economy has been struggling for a while now. The national debt is another critical problem that fuels the fire. Moreover, this situation has arisen at a time when geopolitical tensions are at an all-time rise. The United States and other important economic partners like Germany are exploring alternatives to China. They want to shift from China as their primary source of manufactured goods. The world will be saying goodbye to Made in China soon. The waning demand for Chinese products from domestic and international buyers has led to a noticeable drop in exports during the recent summer months. Wang Dan, chief economist at Hang Seng Bank China, pointed out that this export decline poses a dual challenge for China. The weakened export figures stem from a slowdown in demand from developed nations, but it is also a strategic effort to diversify supply chains. Countries are redirecting away from China as a central hub. The lingering question is, how long will this deflationary trend persist? Foreseeable end to deflation. The notable decline in food and energy costs played a significant role in the downward trajectory observed in July's 2023 figures. However, some economists anticipate a gradual shift, with these prices exerting less pressure as the year unfolds. Factory gate prices have been stuck in a state of deflation since October 2022. Nevertheless, the figures from July revealed a slight improvement compared to the previous month. Does this mean the producers' prices will stabilize soon? There is a possibility. Zooming out, it's important to note that China's inflation trends have remained repressed for around 10 years. This tendency may be linked to strong family savings rates and robust investments. This will result in quick increases in industrial capacity. These processes have together formed China's economic performance, and the insights they provide will help China look for a long-term solution. Do you think Beijing can end the crisis before the economy hits the ground? Drop down a comment below and subscribe for more updates.